we don't want people to sort of necessarily, we don't want to make the game that people necessarily expect. And I think everyone was pretty much thinking, okay, they've done their first one, they're going to do another one and just roll on with it. But we actually wanted to be like, no, actually, we're gonna mess with you a bit here and and mix it up a bit. And so that was part of the reason. Another part of the reason was because we thought we could do a really good job of a 2D platform game. Like after coming off Yooka, we've got a bunch of people in the studio who've made 2D platform games anyway, and we thought, that's a pretty good way to go. And also, we just felt like it.
Hello, people out there. We played Yooka-Laylee. Did I say it right?
Yes, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
No way. Did we play it?
We did. We got to play it, and it's really, really good. Actually, I kind of didn't feel like I was gonna want to give this game the time of day when it was first announced, but I did want to go give it a shot. So we went up to Team 17 and we talked with the Platonic guys, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I gotta admit I wasn't expecting a lot from it because I wasn't really feeling the first Yooka-Laylee when I played it, and this one was announced and I saw it and I was like, okay, well, so now they're just totally changing up genres instead of sticking to what they know. But turns out that not sticking to what they know and trying something different is like exactly the right formula, because this game is really good. It's really, really good. And we only had like a half hour to play it, and I did not want to walk away. I really wanted to keep going. It reminded me a lot of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which was the developers that we spoke to brought that up as specifically a game that was an inspiration when they were working on this one, and Tropical Freeze is one of the best 2D platformers ever made. So the fact that I can compare this directly to Tropical Freeze, really good sign, and I just had a blast playing it.
I was just going to say, I mean, they mentioned that, there were many different platformers that they took inspiration from. Even though they took inspiration from Tropical Freeze, they wanted it to be, of course, its own platformer. They wanted the controls to feel like something unique. And I really think the formula they've come up with really works, because there's some really cool things you can do where, well, Joe, you tell them.
So, like, my favorite mechanic in the game actually is the boost roll. They talked a lot about how they want the game and the movement to feel like really fast and nice and have a flow to it, and they really, really put the work in, and it really does feel good. So there's this boost roll move where if you roll and then you hit the button again as you're rolling, you will do a faster roll that also does damage to enemies that you go through. And it's really satisfying to like have a line of enemies and then just boost roll through like 6 of them, and then they're just all gone. Or it makes it feel really good because it's very fast, and it's the fastest way to get around, honestly. Or things like twirling in the air to give yourself a little bit of extra air to get over obstacles. It's so good. It feels so nice just to move.
Yeah, and something specifically that they said is that they wanted it. They didn't just want the game to feel good, which obviously they did, but they also wanted to make a game where someone who was good at the game would look cool playing it. Like, the game would look awesome when a skilled player was going through a level. And that, to me, helps make it feel even better, because you have this platformer where the idea is to just keep moving, to keep your speed up, you have this 2D platformer where the idea is to keep your speed up, to keep going, and just never stop moving. Always chain one action into the next. And it gives you the opportunity to really show off your skill by just having these consecutive actions that you're doing one after the other. And there's a couple different moves, like the boost roll and a twirl that you can do in the air, and combining all of those to like really affect your movement in the specific way that you want to. It's stylish. It's got a skill cap. It's really, really fun, and it manages to like have that level of really cool really cool movement, both at the lower level and at the higher level. Like, even though I was bad at it, I still had a great time. And the game is being built around like sort of the structure that. So the name of the game is the Impossible Lair, and the level of the Impossible Lair is supposed to be like the final level of the game, where you can. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild, where that can be the first thing you go to. But you'll probably lose really hard.
The developer specifically said that most people who do go in there first maybe are lucky to make it 5% into the level before they die.
Yeah, and they actually, when we got there, they had tried it once before, and like the developers themselves had tried to play it. And there's a progress bar when you hover over it on the level select screen, and it was at 0% with one attempt. And sadly, our appointment ran out of time before we could try it out. But I'm confident we could have been like the first people to get 6%, right?
Let's not get carried away here. Basically, the way it's supposed to work is that the main villain has set up his headquarters, being the Impossible Lair, and he is so confident that it is impossible that he's just left the door completely wide open. These are almost word for word how they described it to us. And so you can go there, like Matt said, anytime. Like from the start of the game, you can just go ahead and enter the Impossible Lair. And you'll probably lose. There are no checkpoints, is what they said. And it is the longest level in the game. It is also the hardest level in the game. Every single enemy is present in that level. And the way you make it easier is you go to the various levels throughout the overworld. And every level you beat, you free a bee. And that bee allows you to take an extra hit in the Impossible Lair. Or at least that's the way they described it to us. So the more bees you free, the longer you'll be able to actually last in the level.
And so it's, like I said, it's a lot like Breath of the Wild, where you could go right in at the beginning, but you're probably going to lose. But as you progress through the game, you get better, you get stronger, and you can maybe, halfway through the game, you can jump in and see if you can beat it. Or if you want, you can make sure you do everything and see all of the game. It's up to you when to decide when are you ready to go, when do you want to go, and that's a concept that I find really cool. I really like the idea of a game that leaves, like you said, leaves the front door to the end game wide open and invites you in. It says, yeah, if you think you can do it, come and do it. And it's kind of funny to have that in a 2D platformer, because that's very much a big exploration game kind of thing. But 2D platformers are also, that's a genre that lets you really yeah, to test your skills with that. It's like midnight. I don't know where my words are. But two platformers are my favorite genre for that reason. So having a door wide open end game level to test your skills with right at the start of a platformer sounds really cool. And it's exactly my thing. And this game just, I don't know how to like really express how much this game is exactly my thing. So I am so looking forward to this, and I'm really happy to say that because I did kind of feel let down by the first game, but I think that Playtonic has really found their footing with this, and I cannot wait to see more of it.
One other really interesting thing that they did mention to us is that every level can actually be played twice in 2 different versions. And each version has its own bee that you can free. So the example they showed us was they played a level and then they did some stuff and dropped a lever that allowed something on the overworld to start pouring extra enemies into that level. And so when they went back to that level, it was more challenging because there were just a bunch of new enemies walking around in a different pattern. And they said that was one of the more minimal changes to a level that they have. They described one that was like it went from being a horizontal level to being a vertical level, et cetera, et cetera. And they said so it ranges from small changes to massive changes that basically change the entire level. And that is also really cool that every level can be played in 2 different ways.
So anything else you want to say before we wrap this up? I know you guys talked a little, maybe had almost like an interview session with them at the end. I think you just mentioned to me earlier something interesting that happened.
Oh, so I asked them something that had nothing to do with the game itself, but obviously members of Playtonic, a lot of them are former members of Rare. And Rare, of course, just had the very big day of their own character, Banjo-Kazooie, getting into Smash Brothers.
Wait, what? In Smash?
Yeah, it's the latest Smash Brothers character is the Dragon Quest hero from Banjo-Kazooie. So I was curious because I didn't know if the 2 guys that were there with us specifically had worked on Banjo, but I knew that some people at Playtonic had. So I asked, how's the team back at the office feel about Banjo and Kazooie being in Smash Brothers? And he said neither of them specifically had worked on Banjo, so it wasn't quite as significant for them, but people in the office were really excited, and because a lot of them. It's a very important character to them, and he said that he knew some people that are still at Rare right now that they're really hyped too, and he said that he might need to reconsider those friendships because none of them told him about it. He said specifically that a couple of them were like, "Oh, you're in LA for E3. We should meet up. We should have lunch." And he's like, "Should we?" But they're all really excited about it, and it's so cool to just to see that after all these years, people still love their characters, and that not only are their old games still beloved, but their new games that they are all making together as Playtonic are also being pretty well received, and I think that they're going to keep being well received if the Impossible Lair is anything to go by.
All right, so you heard it here first, or second, or third, some order. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like the video. Eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Thanks, guys. Bye.